नहीं मैं इरिटेट नहीं हूँ. Good morning everyone. So in this semester I am going to teach you DDSS, that is design and drawing of steel structure. So up till now you have done the analysis part, that is SA1 and SA2. In SA1 and SA2 you had done all the analysis part, that is how to draw the shear force diagram and the bending moment diagram, as well as you had studied how to calculate the slope and deflection of the particular beam, as well as the strain energy method, as well as you had seen the different methods to calculate slope and deflection. But in this semester you are going to learn the designing part, how to design the structures. And basically in this semester you are going to study the design and drawing of only steel structure, not RCC structure. You are going to study the steel structure only. So this is your teaching scheme for this particular subject, that is for DDSS, that is design and drawing of steel structure. So theory is of 4 hours and the practical is of 2 hours. And the total credits assigned to this subject is 5. There is a term test 1 and 2. So term test 1 will comprise of 20 marks, as well as term test 2 will be also of 20 marks, and the average will be considered in the end semester exam, that is of the 20 marks. And the final semester exam is of 80 marks. Term work will comprise of 25 marks and the oral will comprise of 25 marks. And there is also one project in this semester. So that project is also there of that will consist of minimum 32 marks. The project will be on the design of the steel roof truss. That will be there in your question number 1. So the paper pattern for this particular subject is your question number 1. That will be the compulsory question. And from remaining 5 questions, you have to solve any 4 questions. Question number 1 will comprise of minimum 32 marks. And the next question will consist of 20 marks each. 20 marks or 16 marks depending upon the paper setup. As well as in this semester, you are having sheets also. Drawing sheets are also there. So you are having total 3 to 4 sheets in your DDSS. Then the reference books that you have to refer for this particular subject is Limit State Design of Steel Structure by S.K. Duggal and the Limit State Design of Steel Structure by Dr. V.L. Shah and Veena Gore. That is Shah and Gore. These two books are good to refer for DDSS. So if you want to write the name of the books, you can write. Note down the name of the books. Everyone had noted the name of the book. Should I proceed further? Yeah, had you noted? Should I proceed further? Any doubts in the teaching strategy? Okay. Okay. So these are the course objectives for your design and drawing of steel structure. Course objective means before starting the subject, what are the main objectives, why you are going to study this particular subject. What is the objective behind studying the design and drawing of steel structure? So there are the certain course objectives. So we will discuss one by one. The first main course objective is to make the students familiar with the behavior of the steel structure and their components under the action of the various loads. So can anybody tell me that how many types of loads are there? Which are the different types of load that are acting upon any of the building? What are the various types of loads that will act on any of the structure or any of the building? Whether it,
Dropped out live seismic load, mean load,
yes, wind load, seismic load, and
dead load and live load.
yes, dead load and live load. So there are four main load that are acting on any of the structure that we are going to consider while designing any of the structure. So the first important load is the dead load. So what do you mean by dead load? Dead load is nothing but the self weight of any of the structure. Then comes up the live load. So live load will include the furnitures as well as the other things that you are going to put on the structure, that will included in the live load, as well as the human beings that are also considered as a live load only. Whatever the extra load that will act upon the building another than the self weight, that will included in the live load. Then comes the wind load. Wind load, everybody knows what do you mean by wind load. So the load which is acting upon on the structure because of the wind, it may be in any of the direction. So that is your wind load. And the next important load is your seismic load. So what is seismic load? Seismic load is nothing but the load because of the earthquake. Earthquake के लिए when we are going to design the building on the bay to resist the earthquake effects, we are going to consider the seismic load. So for seismic design, there is one IS code, that is IS 13920, that you have to refer when you are going to consider the seismic load for the designing part. And for the steel structure, yes, the most important thing in this semester, uh, you must have IS 800 2007. So everyone download IS 800 2007, because we will be needing IS 200, IS 800 2007 for the designing part. Yes, snow load is also there, but mostly we are going to consider these four loads only when we are going to do the design of any of the structure. As well as there are different load combinations also. Depending upon the load combinations as per IS code, we are going to take the load combinations. Whatever load combinations are mentioned in the IS code, that load combinations we are going to use while we are going to design any of the structure. So everybody download IS 800 2007 from the Google and keep it with you, because when and when we are going to take the designing part, you will require the IS code for the necessary values, as well as there are different formulas and the theory is also included in the IS code. So IS 800 2007 is for the steel structure, and that you will require for this particular subject. So the first main course objective is to make the students familiar with the behavior of the steel structure. You should know what is steel structure and what are their components and what is the action of the different loads acting upon that structure. Means आपके स्ट्रक्चर पे डेड लोड कैसे एक्ट हो रहा है, लाइव लोड कैसे एक्ट हो रहा है, आपको सब वो पता रहना चाहिए व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू डू द डिजाइनिंग पार्ट. So you should know the different components of the steel structure as well as the different loads acting upon that structure. That's what the first course objective says. And the second course objective is to train the students for the effective use of the IS code design tables, and aids in analyzing and design the steel structure by the limit state design. Nowadays, we are not going to use WSM. WSM is nothing but the working stress method. So working stress method is the old method that is being used in the earlier decades. But because of the disadvantages, there is lot of disadvantages of using WSM. So we are going to use the LSM method for the designing purpose. And so LSM is the most economically proved good method for the designing. So we are going to use LSM method only for the designing of the steel structures, as well as why when you are going to design any of the structure, the values that you are going to use is from the IS codes. IS code में जो भी particular values है that you are going to use for the designing purpose. So you are going to refer IS code 800 2007, whatever the formulas, whatever the tables, and whatever the particular values are there in the IS code. You are going to use that only for the design purpose. The latest IS code is your IS code 800 2007. It is being revised in the year 2007. उसके बाद में रिवाइज नहीं हुआ है. So this is the latest version that is being revised in the year 2007. So you have to use that only. Then the next main course objective is to equip the students with experts required for the designing tension member, compression member, and the column bases. So we are going to design the different components. That is, we are going to design the tension member. We are going to design the compression member, as well as we are going to design the column bases. So these are the different designing that we are going to study in the upcoming lectures. Then the next main course objective is to equip the students with the specs required for the designing beam and the welded plate girder, as well as you are having the design of beam and the welded plate girder in your chapter number 5th. So in this particular semester, you are going to study the design of tension member, design of compression member, design of column bases, design of beam, as well as the welded plate girder. Then the next course objective is to help the students to design connections in the steel members. Now, can anybody tell me how many type of connections are there? कौन से connections रहते हैं? मतलब अगर आपको दो स्टील मेंबर्स को कनेक्ट करना है तो आप कैसे कनेक्ट करोगे? Which are the things?
Bolted
By
connection,
means
welded
of bolt
connection, and
and
riveted connection.
Yes. Yes, there are two types of main basic connections, that is bolted and welded connections. So you are going to design that also in your upcoming lectures. That is the design for bolted connection and the design of welded connection. And to aid, last course objective is to aid the students in designing steel truss. As I've already told you that there is the design of the steel roof truss. So we are going to design the steel roof truss. That is the main basic question according to your syllabus. So we are going to design that also. So any doubts in the course objective? Everyone understood these 6 main course objectives? Okay. Now proceeding further, course outcome. So course outcome is nothing but after studying the subject, what you have understood, what should you know after studying the subject. That is nothing but the course outcome. So to explain the limit state design philosophy as applied to the steel structure. You should know what is the limit state design philosophy, means what are the different clauses that you had used in the when you are going to design the steel structure, and what are the different design philosophies that are being included for the steel structure. So you should note that after studying this DDSS. As well as the second course outcome is to predict the behavior and the design members subjected to the actual compression tension and their connection. You should know the behavior of the different design members. So जो भी आपके design members रहेंगे वो either they will be in compression or either they will be in tension. So अगर टेंशन में है तो टेंशन मेंबर आपको कैसे डिजाइन करना है वो आपको आना चाहिए, एंड इफ इट इज इन कॉम्प्रेशन and or if it is subjected to the axial compression, so you should know how to design the compression member as well as their connection, whether the connection is bolted or whether the connection is welded. There are only main basic two types of the connection only, that is the bolted connection and the welded connection. So after studying this subject, you should know how to design the bolted connection as well as how to design the welded connection. Then the third course outcome is to predict the behavior and the design members subjected to the bending, shear, and their connection. You should also know how to how the behavior of the structure is being subjected to the bending, shear, and their connection. Means आपका structure जो है उसका bending moment क्या है, shear force क्या है, as well as how it is being connected, bolted or welded. You should note that. As well as to calculate the loading for the truss and the design of the complete truss. As I have already told you that there are different loads acting upon any of the structure. So like that only for the truss also there are different loads that will be acting on the truss. तो अभी ट्रस पे कौन से लोड्स एक्ट करेंगे फॉर ट्रस, the dead load, live load, as well as the wind load. We are going to consider these three loads when we are going to design for the truss. So you should know which are the different loads that are acting upon the truss and their load combinations as per IS 800 2007. As well as the next course outcome is to demonstrate ability to follow IS code, design tables, and aids in analysis and the design steel structures. After studying this subject, you should know how to follow the IS code. आपको ये पता रहना चाहिए कि IS code कैसे देखते हैं एंड कैसे उसमें से वैल्यूज लेते हैं. फॉर पर्टिकुलर वैल्यूज कौन सा आपको टेबल यूज करना है, कौन सा क्लॉज यूज करना है, यू शुड नो दैट because the IS code is very huge. It is of almost 150 to 160 pages. So you should know कि कहाँ पे कौन सी वैल्यूज है, तो वो आपको धीरे धीरे when you are going to do the designing part आपको याद हो जाएगा कि कहाँ से कौन सी वैल्यूज लेना है एंड कौन से टेबल से कौन सी वैल्यू लेना है, एंड which are the different clauses that you have to refer for different design. So you should note that when you are going to study DDSS. Then the last course outcome is to analyze and design the commercial steel structures and prepare drawing with the complete detailing. So when you are going to design any of the steel structure, whether it is commercial or whether it is public, or whether it is a residential building, any of the building when you are going to design, you should know the proper drawing and the detailing of that structure. डिटेलिंग में क्या क्या रहेगा, डिटेलिंग में कहाँ पे कवर प्रोवाइड किए हैं, कितना कवर प्रोवाइड किया है, रेनफोर्समेंट क्या है, कौन सा स्टीरअप है, कौन सा बार है, कितना स्पेसिंग दिया है, दैट यू would be showing in the detailing part. When you are going to draw, when you are going to do the drawing sheets, so drawing sheets में आप क्या बताओगे, reinforcement कितना है, कितने बार हमने यूज किए हैं, कितना spacing है, that all detailing you are going to show in your drawing. So these are the different course objective for these DDSS. Yes, anyone is having any of the query in the course objective and the course outcome? If you are having any of the doubts, you can ask. Understood? Yes or no? Understood or not? Okay. And this subject is very vast. So be regular and you have to prepare a proper notebook for this particular subject. And we remain present. Don't miss any of the lecture. If you miss one lecture and if you come in the another lecture, it will be difficult for you to understand. So be regular for this subject. Now there are total 6 modules in this subject. So first module is your introduction part. In the first introduction part, there is nothing but the introduction of the steel structure, advantages and disadvantages of steel structure, and what do you mean by steel structure, iron sports, which are the different iron sports that you are going to refer for this steel structure, that will be included in your first introduction part. Then next comes to your design of tension member. In that, we are going to design the different tension members. And also with the IS code, you will require the steel table also. So you have to purchase steel table also from the market for referring, because we are having the certain values that are there from the steel table. So you have to refer both IS 800 2007 as well as the steel table. So you can download IS 800 2007 and you can take a printout of that, as well as you have to purchase steel table also. For now, as it is online, you can just download, don't take a printout of your IS code, just download it and you can refer from your laptop itself. But you have to purchase the steel table. Then the third module will be your design of compression member and the column bases. In that, you are going to design the different compression member and the column bases. Then the next module is that is the module number 4 is your design of beams and the welded plate girder. So in that, you are going to design the different beams and the welded plate girder. For welded plate girder, the compulsory question is being there for minimum 12 to 14 marks. Then the next fifth module is the design of connections. That I have already told you that there are two main basic types of the connection. That is the bolted connection and the welded connection. So the fifth module will be comprising of the design of bolted connection and the design of welded connections. Then comes up your design of truss. So design of steel roof truss. So again, this is the most important module as far as your exams are concerned. But before studying this design of truss, you should study all these fifth module, because in design of truss, you have to design the different loads that are acting upon the truss, as well as you need to design the different tension members that are there in the truss, as well as the different compression members that are included in the truss, as well as you will require the design of connections also. So design of steel roof truss is a combination of all the chapters that are there in your DDSS. So that's why we are going to take design of truss in the last that will be in the last module, that is the module number 6. We are going to start with the design of connections. First of all, we are going to study the introduction part, and after completing the introduction part, we are going with the design of connections because it is very basic. Before starting the tension member, the design of tension member, you should know the design of connections. So we are going to start with the design of connections after completing this introduction part. Okay. So these are the different modules that are there in your DDSS. Now, what are the steel structures? What do you mean by exactly steel structures? So the structure which is made from the organized steel, that is the combination of the structural members designed to carry loads and provide adequate rigidity, that is known as the steel structures. So the steel structures is comparatively more better as compared to the RCC structures, as well as the strength is also high in case of the steel structure when compared to the RCC structure. RCC is nothing but the reinforced concrete structure. In RCC structure, what is there? It is nothing but the combination of steel as well as the cement concrete. But in steel structure is nothing but a whole and soul, the made up of the steel. And steel structure will also involve, yes, who's this? Stop. Okay. And steel structure also involve a substructure or the members in a building made from the structural steel. So also involves the different members that will be made from the structural steel. So as you can see here, there are two bridges that are made up of steel only. The first one is your Tyne Bridge that is situated in the UK, and the next one is your Howrah Bridge that is in there situated in India. So these both the bridges are made up of steel only. Then the next is your advantages of using the steel structure. What are the different advantages that we are for of the steel structure? So the first advantage is nothing but the high strength. As I already told you, the steel structure is having the more strength as compared to the RCC structure. So the main important advantage of using the steel structure that it gives us higher strength as well as the high ratio of strength to weight. That is the ratio per unit weight. That is the strength to weight ratio is also high as compared to any of the other structures. The it carries the high strength as well as the high strength to weight ratio, as well as the steel structure is very good to resist the seismic responses whenever the earthquake occurs. The steel structure proves to be the more durable, as well as it is having the excellent ductility and the seismic resistance. Means even at the time of the earthquake, the structure will be more safe if it is made up of steel. So the seismic resistance power is also good in case of the steel structure, as well as it is more ductile in nature as compared to any of the other structure. Then the next main advantage of using the steel structure is that it withstands the extensive deformation without failure even under the high tensile stresses. Even if the tensile stresses are high, it will deform. It has the extensive power of deformation, as well as the uniformity of the material is very good, and the elasticity of the steel structure is also good. So it is having good elasticity and the uniformity also, and the predictability of properties close to the design assumptions. So whatever the design assumptions that are there based upon IS 800 2007, so steel is having good properties depending upon all the assumptions that we are going to use for the designing purpose, as well as it is easy for the fabrication and the speed of the erection. So these are the certain main important advantages of using the steel structure. But with the advantages, there are some disadvantages too for the steel structure. So we will see what are the different disadvantages also of using the steel structures. The main important disadvantage is that of the corrosion. Corrosion problem is also there when we are going to use the steel structure. So it may get corroded also. So you have to do the proper maintenance if the structure is made up of steel. Otherwise, it will be corroded and the life will be less. So maintenance cost will be also high if the structure is made up of steel, and the loss of strength at the elevated temperature. It will, no doubt, the steel structure is having the more strength as compared to any of the structure. But in if the at the time of elevated temperature, it may lose the strength as the structure is made up of steel. As well as fireproofing cost is also more for the steel structure, and the susceptibility to buckling. So the buckle problem may also occur if the structure is made up of steel. As you can see in this diagram, they are shown the buckling phenomena. As you can see over here, there is one column that is going to be buckle. The column is made up of steel only. So the sometimes the structure may buckle if the proper reinforcement is not being used. Then the fatigue and the brittle fracture. So it may also have the brittle fracture in that. So these are the different disadvantages of the steel structure. Then when and where we can use the steel structure. So steel structures can be used in the long span structures. Uh, yes, Josh, you are having any query? You had raise your hand.
No, ma'am, it was a mistake.
Okay. So हम कहाँ कहाँ पे स्टील स्ट्रक्चर यूज कर सकते हैं? So at the time of long span structures, मतलब जहाँ पे भी ब्रिजेस है, for bridges we can use these steel structures that are for bridges. Bridges is comprising of the long span only. So for bridges we can use the steel structure, as well as for the high rise building and for the multi-story building the steel structure is being used, as it is having the more strength and the durability and the ductility is also more. So we are going to use the steel structure for the high rise buildings also, and the buildings of heavy duty plants. Yes, if the buildings that are consisting of the heavy duty plants, we are going to use the steel structures, and for the towers and the mast structures also we are going to use the steel structures, as well as for the portal frame. As you had studied structural analysis, everybody is knowing what do you mean by the portal frame. Yes, can anybody know? Can anybody tell me what do you mean by the portal frame? What is portal frame exactly? Yes, anyone from you, Abdullah? What is portal frame? You had studied in your essay one. Imran? Sway or non-sway frame, that is different. But portal frame is consisting of three members. That is the jointly two vertical and one horizontal. Yes, exactly correct. So the frame that is consisting of the three members, that is the two horizontal one and the, sorry, two vertical one and the one horizontal, that is the combination of the three beams together. That is your portal frame. So steel structures can also be used for the portal frames. It can also be used for the bridges, for infrastructures, for deployable structures, as well as for the generalized structures, that is mechanical structures. So these are the different structures where you can use your the structural steel for the construction purpose. Yes, we are having last 2 minutes. So those who are not given your attendance, give your attendance in the chat box in a similar manner as you are being giving in the last semester. And if you are having any of the doubts up till here, you can ask. If you are having any of the query or any of the doubts, you can ask. And rejoin the lecture after 10 minutes again. Okay, everyone understood? No one is having any of the doubts?
Ma'am, will we use any softwares in this?
Softwares, yes, we can use the softwares, but before softwares, you should know the manual design. There are the softwares for the designing purpose, that is for the StatPro and the ETABS. These two are the main important softwares that we are going to use for the design and analysis of any of the structure, whether it is of the steel or whether it is of RCC. But before that, you should know the basic thing, that is the basic manual design. In value added courses, there are chances of softwares. Somebody will teach you the softwares.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, everyone had given the attendance. Should I save your attendance?